Terlipressin, sir. It is an B2 receptor antagonist, sir. Sorry, B2 not B1 receptor antagonist, sir. Sorry.
Yes.
And indication for terlipressin, it can be used in hepatorenal syndrome and in patients with hematemesis who presents with GI bleeding, we can use terlipressin, sir. And mechanism of action of terlipressin is that it is not an antagonist, it is an agonist, sir. Like it causes vasoconstriction by acting in the V1 receptor. And route we generally give in IV route, sir. Dose I don't remember, sir.
Okay.
And side effects and contraindication I'm not sure.
Okay. So as you rightly said, it's an analog of vasopressin. It acts through V1 receptor.
Agonist.
So it produces actually splanchnic vasoconstriction, thereby decreases the portal pressure. So this drug can be given during the bleed due to portal hypertension. Usually given as an infusion in dextrose, not in saline, and it is also used in ascites, septic shock. When the shock is resistant to noradrenaline, this drug can be used. It produces hypersensitive reaction, can produce mesenteric ischemia. Because of vasoconstriction, there's always a possibility of coronary artery disease in these patients. But that is not an absolute contraindication. But absolute contraindication is pregnancy, and relative contraindication is when there's a vascular event already. You have to be careful, but not absolutely contraindicated. So, how does it act actually? This drug, by vasoconstriction, it diverts the blood to the blood pool, so the blood volume actually goes up. When the blood volume goes up, it is actually increasing the circulation through the kidneys, and your urine output also increases. This drug also acts on the collecting duct by increasing the urinary output. These two mechanisms are helpful in hepatorenal syndrome. Actually, for the prevention or the treatment of hepatorenal syndrome, this can be tried. But most common indication, of course, in the acute bleed secondary to portal hypertension. Let's go to atropine.
Yes. Atropine is an anticholinergic, sir. We can use it previously it was used in patients with cardiac arrest. Now we can use it in patients with OPC poisonings or in patients with bradycardia, like pulse rate less than 40 beats per minute. And
okay. So cholinergic symptoms are treated with this in case of overdose with organophosphorus poisoning. As you rightly said, sinus bradycardia is one indication, and sometimes for pre-anesthetic medication, especially to decrease secretions, it may be used. Mushroom poisoning, and to decrease secretion in any scenario, this drug may be useful. What are the side effects expected?
Side effect expected dryness of mouth. There will be tachycardia, sinus tachycardia will be there, and patient will have atropine induced delirium can also they can present with delirium also.
So the side effects are commonly said that they behave like a mad like hen, hot like hair, blind like bat because of pupil dilatation, dry, as you said, dry like bones, and red like beetroot. They become flushed. So mad like hen, hot like hair, blind like bat, dry like bones, and red like beetroot. That's how the side effects are described. And because of the anticholinergic effect, you can have precipitation of retention urine, you can have constipation, and sometimes glaucoma may also be precipitated. Are there any contraindications?
Contraindications in patients with BPH or in patients with any arrhythmias, they can provoke it.
Yes, that's right. Anything else?
Not sure.
Okay. So, as you said, possibly hypertrophic glaucoma and Pyloric stenosis, yes. Route of administration.
IV route generally we prefer.
Sometimes you give eye drops.
Yes.
Sometimes you give intramuscular also. Okay. How do you monitor this drug during OP poisoning?
We monitor with cardiac monitoring with patients presenting with sinus tachycardia, and some patients may go for delirium. Some patients, and we also look for pupils to look for mydriasis, and dryness we look for respiratory secretions.
Where do you look for dryness?
Mouth and we look for dryness of the mouth, sir. And we also look for whether respiratory secretions and all has been gone. Like crepitations, everything will be decreased in
Dryness
patients.
is commonly looked at in the axilla. Pulse rate may be increased because of other scenarios. People can also be dilated because other scenarios or even with hypoxia. So axilla is a good site. Dryness of mouth is okay. So what's the usual dose in OP poisoning?
We, sir, it is.
So you give 2 to 5 milligram to start with
Yes.
every 5 minutes and you continue with the infusion.
Yes.
In case of poisoning, that's how it goes. Okay. Tell something about this drug.
It is an TNF alpha inhibitor, sir. It is a fusion inhibitor of TNF alpha, I think.
Okay.
And,
What is TNF?
TNF alpha is an pro-inflammatory cytokine which is involved in chronic inflammation.
It's produced from
Produced from macrophages
and lymphocytes.
and
Okay. What is its function?
TNF generally the role of chronic inflammation. Sir.
It's a master regulator of inflammatory response in many organ systems. So when do you give this drug?
Rheumatoid arthritis, there is an indication for itamazole.
Any other indication?
Not sure.
Actually, the autoimmune diseases are all produced by over-inflammatory reaction. So it can be broadly divided for them. Juvenile idiopathic arthritis, psoriatic arthritis. First indication is there for plaque psoriasis and ankylosing spondylitis. The contraindications?
Like in patients with tuberculosis or any patients with hepatitis or HIV patients, we cannot give this drug, sir, because there can be reactivation in patients with latent TB.
That's right. That's right. Okay. What are the precautions you take before you start the drug?
Vaccinate them, sir.
Pardon?
Vaccination, sir, before that.
You have to check for TB, take X-ray, do Mantoux test, look for HIV, hepatitis B, hepatitis C. Any sort of infection or carcinoma, better not to give. Okay. What are the common side effects you encounter?
Side effect not sure.
Is any flare-up of any infection, flare-up of TB, vomiting, headache, non-specific symptoms and rash. Route of administration?
Subcutaneous,
How often you give?
not sure.
Weekly once or weekly twice, depending upon the response of the patient. And dose is also variable. It can be 50 milligram per dose or 25 milligram, depending upon the dose. And the frequency also depends upon the severity of the disease and the response of the patient. Let's go to the next drug.
Cyclophosphamide, it is an alkylating agent, sir. It is used primarily as an immunosuppressant.
Alkylating agent, suppress the immune system. Okay, what are the indications where commonly used this drug?
Indications, there are many indications in rheumatology, sir. And for patients with ILD or any patients with systemic vasculitis, or even in cancer chemotherapies, in post bone marrow transplants, for this engraftment and all, we can use this.
So broadly it can be malignancies, it can be autoimmune diseases, amyloidosis, AL amyloidosis,
Yes.
or graft versus post disease. Coming to the autoimmune diseases, SLE, lupus nephritis, mixed transmitted disease, previously called Wegener's granulomatous polyangiitis, previously called Church stress syndrome, now called eosinophilic angiitis. So there are many indications. In oncology, very many indications, as you said, lymphoma, myeloma, leukemia, solid tumors, sarcoma, all you can give this type of drug. AL amyloidosis and graft-versus-host disease are two other indications. What are the contraindications?
Contraindications.
It's a teratogenic drug, so
Yes,
pregnancy,
can give it in pregnancy.
if you give this drug up some time, if she wants to become pregnant, that may be a problem. Lactation is another one. Active infection, inflammation, and if the count is very low, neutropenia. Okay, this is the entity called as cyclophosphamide embryopathy. That's also described. So, what's the route of administration?
Intravenous route of administration, sir.
Oral tablets are also available. Mechanism?
Alkylating agent, but not sure.
It is interfering with the duplication of DNA and the creation of new RNA. So multiplication cell become less. Side effects?
Bone marrow suppression and hemorrhagic cystitis.
How do you prevent hemorrhagic cystitis?
We generally give it along with Mesna.
Mesna. And drink lot of fluid. Drink lot of fluid. Okay, and when you give this drug for malignancy, sometimes there may be lysis of the cells producing tumor lysis syndrome. And young females you give, it may become premature menopause. So infertility may be a problem. So, and when you give long-term oral tablets, sometimes they go for secondary malignancy. Bone marrow suppression, hair loss is also very common. Yes?
Heparin, it is an anticoagulant, sir.
Yes. What is this chemical structure?
Chemical structure.
Glycosaminoglycan.
Glycosaminoglycan.
Glycosaminoglycan. Okay. Is that parenteral anticoagulant, no?
Yes.
What are different types of heparin?
Low molecular weight heparin and normal heparin, and we also have standard heparin.
So, what are the indications for giving heparin basically?
In all patients with any prothrombotic states who presents with thrombotic manifestations, we can give heparin in patient like MI or CVT or DVT, pulmonary thromboembolisms. Like coagulant states, we generally indicate.
MI usually we give, you mean NSTEMI, you mean?
Instant, yes.
Okay. So why you are saying all these venous conditions, why not arterial conditions?
Venous strokes are the one where there is an coagulation cascade pathway and stasis plays a main role, sir. In arterial, mostly the platelet aggregation, that is why we prefer antiplatelets in arterial and anticoagulants in venous.
So in arterial thrombus, it is a platelet problem, accumulation of platelets. What about venous thrombosis? What is it?
In venous, generally hypercoagulability, that Virchow's triad, hypercoagulability, stasis. There, what is it?
Fibrin meshwork.
Fibrin meshwork.
So the few platelets may be there, but not the main content. But arterial thrombus mainly just the platelet adhesion. That's why you prefer this drug in these patients. Okay. So indications are ever so many. Also, we give some time for procedures like hemodialysis, flushing of venous cannulas, while you are using ECMO, bypass, and so on. Other than the so different. What's the antidote for heparin?
Protamine sulfate, sir.
Protamine sulfate. Okay. So what's the dose? 1 milligram per 100 units per 4 hours. Last 4 hours. Okay. What side effects heparin?
Bleeding, sir, And patients can also present with heparin-induced thrombocytopenia, which can present as a manifestation of thrombosis, like DVT and all.
Very good, very good. Okay. So it can produce pain, it can produce bleed, it can produce heat, apparent use. Okay. What is the usual route of administration?
IV or subcutaneous we can prefer.
Okay. Infusion or bolus or subcutaneously. What's the advantage of low molecular weight heparin?
Yes.
There are two types of heparin, no standard and no molecular weight.
Sir. Sir.
So it is a long duration of action. So no need of doing monitoring work, unlike in heparin. And chance of heat is less. And when you use for long term, like people with APLA during pregnancy, the chance of osteoporosis also less compared to conventional or standard heparin. Both heparins can produce bit of hair loss and diarrhea, but osteoporosis is more common with the standard heparin. So when you are planning for surgery for hip and so on, prophylaxis is always given through low molecular weight heparin. Advantage standard heparin.
We can use it in patients with chronic kidney disease, in CKD.
And if you are giving heparin, for example, standard heparin, half-life is very short. So if the patient bleeds or you want to become procedures, you can always readjust the dose and stop bleeding. But low molecular weight heparin is long-acting, so surgery and all short procedures may be in trouble. So in a case of emergency, you cannot withdraw the low molecular weight heparin. Okay. So here there's an antidote called protamine, and it can be given renal disease also, as rightly pointed out. Okay. So with that we'll stop the drug and we'll go to an X-ray if you don't mind. Okay.
Okay.
Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
You can go two ways. Either you can give the diagnosis or you can stepwise describe it.
Yes, sir. This patient has an left-sided blunting of the costophrenic ankle, sir. With it looks more like an left-sided loculated pleural effusion, sir.
Why do you say loculated?
Because generally in a normal pleural effusion, you will have a straight line demarcating the opacity and lucency of the lungs. But this patient has more often the inferior border is not straight; it is more.
Usually, the shape of the pleural effusion will be concave to the axilla. No.
Yes.
Here it is convex to the heart border. If you see the heart border.
Yes.
Very close to that, we have the opacity, and opacity is showing it is very close to the heart, and it is convex to the heart, unlike the conventional X-ray. And above this pleural effusion, can you see anything else? Is there any other shadowing? The different density?
Close to the hilum, there is an hyperlucent area, sir.
Very close to the
left hilum.
Existed pleural effusion. Just above that, there is an area of opacity, of lesser density, possibly an area of consolidation. So this could be a case of pneumonia with symptomatic effusion, which has encysted by itself. So what do you do for this patient?
Generally, we will do either thoracocentesis or we can go ahead with an insertion of an intercostal drainage tube, sir. But
which is better for this patient?
Sir?
Which is better for this patient?
If it is a loculated effusion, intercostal drainage is a better option, sir.
Is a better option. Okay. So what may be the cause for this pneumonia?
Pneumonia, the cause may be like pneumonia with a symptomatic effusion can be mostly in bacterial, sir, because it looks more like a lower lobe pathology.
Okay, okay. Which pneumonia comes in the upper lobe?
Tuberculosis, sir.
Among the bacterial pneumonias?
Klebsiella can come in the upper.
Klebsiella can come, yes. Klebsiella can come. So, in pleural effusion, what are the indications by which you say underwater silk drainage is required or not?
Sir, pH we'll look for, sir. If it is less than 7.3, and sugars we'll look for.
Sugar. Okay, very good, very good.
We'll look for sugars, and I don't remember.
Okay, that's fine. And do you like to comment anything else about this X-ray? No, you're okay. You're okay with the posture of the patient, rotation, inspiration X-ray, everything is clear, no?
Sir.
Very good answer you gave. Very excellent. Well done. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You called today.
Okay. Thank you.